Well, let's get started. We got a great crowd. I think a lot of that speaks to how exciting it is to be talking to both of you and to talk to you both of you at the same time. We met you guys last year at different stages of this journey. And I think today I really was excited. Both of you kind of reminded me of each other, not just because you have great taste in eyewear, but because I think you also take us places that interest us. But if you will indulge me, we do have a little bit of housekeeping that we have gotten to start doing. That today's episode is actually brought to you guys by Flick. And if you've ever had 5 AI tools open at once, re-explaining your project to each one, Flick is built for you. It's a generative computer for creative professionals, text, image, video, and audio in one system that actually remembers your context across those sessions. It's not a chatbot, it's not a general purpose tool, but it's built specifically for the kind of work our community does. And actually, we did a Gen Jam with these guys twice last December. We're doing another one with them here in LA. That's the team at TerraSoft that actually is a very interesting group, and we're excited to be working with them. And also our friends at CopySite, they are really jumping into the copyright issues that if either of both of you are interested in meeting Tommy,
I
we're doing a
love
robo dojo.
copy site.
So we're working with Tommy on a robo dojo to learn about copyright soon. But and Matt, maybe you can relate, but most AI creators have no idea if their output is too close to something protected, and that's exactly where things get expensive. And CopySite is an IP detection tool that scans your AI-generated content and flags potential copyright conflicts before they become problems. If you're shipping creative work professionally, this should be in your toolkit, and actually all Machine Cinema members, including you two, if you want them, are getting free access to it. There's a promo code in the show notes, but everybody reach out to us. But we're excited to work with both of them, and we're excited to be here with both of you. I just say, look, I often think of Machine Cinema as a bit of an explorers club. I think about the energy that we try to tap into is a high level of curiosity. And I think bringing ourselves into places that sometimes we don't know where they're going. And I think it leads to a lot of experimentation. And I look at both of you. You even your bio is that you do viral AI experiments, Ari. And I think Matt, same thing could be said of you. I think you've been at this for a few years now, both of you, a lot of us. We're at an interesting inflection point, and I want to think about where you guys are each individually. You also didn't just come out of a vacuum, but you both have careers that you're building this on top of. So I kind of want to lean in today, and normally we talk to you guys one at a time, and we'll see how this goes, because I'd love hearing from both of you on all these questions, and we also hope to get to look at some of your work for people that haven't seen it. But welcome, obviously. I mean, just to kind of throw it out, I mean, maybe we'll just start alphabetically. And Ari, you've probably been in this classroom before where your name starts with an A. But like, how would you look at that experiment mindset? This year, where maybe it's a product of the tools as they advance, and a lot of your videos in some ways are showcasing new tools and their capabilities. But as an artist, as a creator, as someone who is establishing intention, how would you say your experimentation's going?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me again, Fred and Matt. It's so nice to connect with you and I feel like we've been circling each other, but it's the first time we get to talk to each other, which is why Fred suggested, like, let's you and I more have a talk, which I really like also. But yeah, I think I've told you this, but you're one of the few that I really look forward to the next video and admire and feel like are pushing things in interesting new directions, because that is kind of like the experimentation and my pet peeve. So, great to share the virtual stage with you, and glad to be here with you.
I likewise, man. I feel the same about your work. Like, I actually I never know what I'm gonna get, and I get like kind of nervous when I watch it. It feels like uh if it also, frankly, it feels like you have a POV that is entirely uh unique in the way that it is cinematically expressed.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's really your work plays on a lot of layers of satire, but also it's clear that you are a filmmaker, and your cinematic vocabulary runs deep, and I find it really inspiring to see how you are taking essentially, like, often, correct me if I'm wrong, but political commentary, uh, and merging it with uh, exceptionally executed cinematic storytelling. Uh, and uh, but I think that you're a great example of what is going to become more and more important as the tools get easier and more people get access to them, and that is a distinct point of view,
Yeah.
um, a distinct way of seeing the world and having something to say. Uh, that's the part that the AI cannot really write. That the
Well,
AI,
while we're talking about Ari's work, I wonder if we watch a piece because I
yeah,
think this might if be.
Yeah.
I was
I,
thinking
I'm
Melania Aria, but you
I'm
tell me
happy
if
to
you have a
share
preference.
something. Yeah.
I have it
But I
queued up. I
will
can play it here.
let me just riff on that because I feel also about Matt, and I appreciate those words. I feel like your work is visually, stylistically, aesthetically, and some of the ideas as well, kind of exploring these new terrains. And that's kind of like the experimentation that we're talking about. Is like, okay, we've got, and I think you and I maybe have this thing where, I've had a very successful commercial production company for 20 years. And it started very avant-garde and then it slowly becomes more like the market because you're responding to briefs, it's what's coming into the door. And while we've done incredible like experiential and immersive and commercials and spot, you're still at the mercy of clients and agencies and big productions with 100 people on set, and things get very specific, And what I love about this is that for us, it's an opportunity to go straight from what got us into the thing, why I went to film school in the first place, why I was a creative kid in the first place, which is I've got all these ideas and now I've got a way to get them out. And I think being an editor is kind of the superpower of the AI era in a way. And I always loved editing and felt like I would have been a great editor had my ambition not grown to want to work with other directors and have a production company and do these big swings. But I always came back to editing. And when the AI stuff started to get interesting, I realized, I can really, not only like Matt said, it's all about having an idea first, having something to say. And we're seeing so much crap and so much slop. It's like so refreshing to see a fresh idea. But then the execution relies on being a good editor, discernment, taste, and all these things that I see in Matt as well. So I also look forward to Matt. And, Matt was going in this very kind of future, unique aesthetic direction. And all of a sudden we're back in Rome. Like he also surprised me. And we're exploring like the Dionysian mysteries in Rome, which is, it's getting now a little more occult and eclectic. But we're going back to go forward, which is interesting,
So now that we're both referencing each other's works, maybe let's take a minute
Yeah.
to watch. Should we watch Melania?
Yeah, if you feel strongly about Melania, the last one that went viral was the Trump Library, but I think Melania is good because it shows the experiment, the core of my experiment, which is to use the tool to imagine that a different world is possible. So we start off with the premise that we all know, which is Melania has this big movie, and we're going to end up somewhere totally new and unexpected. Do you
Cool.
want to
And
share
then
that?
Matt, I'm gonna tee up your film to play right after because you're both starting to reference them. Is there one of your films just the latest philosopher one,
I think we should watch the first philosopher one. The
the original influencers?
Yeah, yeah.
Copy. Okay. So let's get some popcorn, everybody. We're gonna watch two clips. We'll first watch
I like
Melania.
watching up front too, so thank you for pushing for that.
Sure. Here,
Talking
I'm
is
gonna
cool,
go
but
here.
the films have the magic. You see, the films have the activation, the power.
Yes.
All right. We'll start off with Melania.
It will illuminate and help.
So I should give credit also to Skylar, my partner, life and creative partner, who really worked wrote that piece or and helped guide it, because I do a lot of the men and I'd never done a woman, and she was like, it's not the same. It's not hero's journey male bullshit. It's like, it's a lot more messy. And so it really was following her kind of feminine intuition and getting to all these layers. And then, yeah, like that is a great example of what I'm always trying to do, which is transmutation in alchemy is what it's called. So you go all the way down and you go all the way, you move through the whole cycle, and you're transmuting all the things that made her who she is. You know, she's kind of like a vacant being right now. If you hear her, if you try to watch like even the trailer of documentary, there's just very little there. And then she too had a journey that led her there, which may or may not be dark. And then she is now, after going through what she goes through, is allowed, and this is where it's controversial, a redemption. But it's not a redemption. It's a kind of female safe space, you know, that exists at the end of the, you know, it's literally like the womb, you know. And so, yeah, that works really well. And, you know, of course, that song, and this is the beauty of the Instagram, in particular, Instagram lets you do the 90-second sync. So I try to time them sometimes when I have a specific song. And that song is in the movie, in the documentary, in the real Melania documentary, which I thought, that's what got the idea. I had an idea when it came out, and then I heard or saw on Twitter and X, holy shit, somebody put that song in there. I bet you it was an assistant editor who took the gig and nobody checked the lyrics, and they cleared the song, and it says rape and murder. It's just a shot away, you know, it's talking about the thing. So somehow a cool song reveals the hidden truth, and that's what I'm trying to do with this one, reveal the hidden.
Yeah,
dark.
I'd say I think, without getting into politics, I don't think it's hard to read the politics in the story. And for what it's worth, I think the Rolling Stones are in a big fight with.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out. They're like,
because they don't like being associated with the movie.
Yeah, we didn't want to be a part of
I bet they haven't yelled at you yet, so whatever.
No, because I can do the sync legally on Instagram, and on YouTube it just demonetizes you, which is okay because I'm not trying to monetize my channel. So the only place where it's gray is X, which is all gray anyway. It's like there's no fucking rules on X.
By the way, that's a hot tip. A lot of people are always wondering what's sort of the space of using commercial music. It sounds like you just put it well.
You can sync it. I edit to it. Here's what I do. I edit to it, and then I take out the track, and I leave the sounds, and I mix it in. So I add the music, I sync it back in on edits to the exact spot, so like a resync, and then I upload it. And anyone can do that and legally use these songs that used to, I mean, Matt, you remember you used to do a thing and you wanted one of these songs, it was $250,000 minimum, $1 million sometimes for a commercial for one of these songs. Iconic.
I want to play Matt's movie because I have a similar question for both of you, but and we'd love to get Skylar Brown on here, by the way. We'd love to meet her.
Yeah.
And thank you for shouting her out as a partner on creating that. All right, I'm going to play the original influencers. We'll let it speak for itself for a second, Matt, right?
Here's how Athens works. Born noble, you stay noble. Born a soldier, you go die somewhere. Born nothing, you stay nothing. There is exactly one way up if you don't have an army or a bloodline, all right? You stand in the middle of the agora and you tell people the meaning of life.
Water, everything. You, me, that rock, the sun, water. You are all slaves. I own nothing. I win.
If you're convincing enough,
When the big cup pours, every cup around it fills. That's just how wine works, bro.
if you say it the right way, at the right time, to the right rich guy,
Buy him.
you eat, bro. At the nicest villas in Athens, pop off and you get courtesans embroidering your quotes onto their robes. Aristotle went so hard, his side gig is tutoring a prince now. His side gig. That Alexander kid.
How is that?
Your footwork is derivative.
Epicurus is popping off right now. And the dude's entire shtick is like, drinky wine, takey bath, sucky fruit. Stupid. So stupid, right? Anyway, this philosophy thing, it's the only game in town for people like us.
Because fish live between worlds, neither land nor sky. They are proof that nature resists categories.
That's my theory, bro. Plagiarist, plagiarist.
I said that last week. Ask anyone. He stole it. Sit down there.
And now every dude with a beard and a pulse thinks it's his moment. My name is Cleotheris, by the way. Followers call me Cleo.
Hero! Cleo!
I have 10 of them. Maybe 11.
What's up, theory boy?
One of them is out of his mind. I mean, batshit crazy, bro. And my theory? My theory is that none of this is real. And if I'm right, then whoever built this place did not expect me to notice.
I'd love you to just have the same debrief that Ari had, but I guess the question I'd pose to both of you that I think gets you there anyway is I remember Nick Cleveroff like once kind of had this quote that stayed with me on a LinkedIn post. It's like, here's a film that wouldn't have been made otherwise, right? And I feel that way about so many films that perhaps even points to the proliferation of slop. Here's a bunch of stuff that wouldn't have been made otherwise. But I relate to this whole slop conversation a little bit like graffiti and street art, that I think some people just vandalize stuff and some people just cover things up with a quick tag. And then some people make an incredible statement with a public space and express themselves and sometimes speak for the streets and go on and on. I think both of you made films that I don't know if these would have been made otherwise, whatever that means.
Totally.
I don't know if you would have gotten Melania or Jeff Bezos or the resuscitated Jeffrey Epstein to participate in a film, Ari. And I don't know if you would have been able to go and get all these locations and actors and togas to just express an idea you had. And that's what I think both of you are doing in such an interesting way, that both of you, going back to that spirit of experimentation, but also, on some level pushing the models, pushing the technology where it can be, but also like figuring out what is this doing uniquely? What is this opportunity of this immediacy of technology, this something that you can go watch the Melania doc and make this 3 days later, right? Or you can sort of have this idea that's been percolating with you and just make a whole series. I'll pause there. Sorry for my rant, but that excites me on both of you. And maybe Matt, go first because we just watched your film.
Well, I think there's an interview with David Lynch, R.I.P., that I love, where he talks about ideas. And he says that you essentially catch ideas. They come out of nowhere. And they just hit you like a spark. And then you decide if you want to go make that idea. And in the interview, he says that means that you better love that idea because you might be working on it for 5 years. And you'll be obsessed with it. And you'll hate the idea as much as you love it. But the 5-year problem's gone. David Lynch says if you don't do the idea, someone else is going to do it. And you will for sure see that idea happen told by someone else. But we can now make every idea that we actually like that we catch. There is no friction. You do not need permission. You can just go make it, and wonderful things happen when you make these ideas. I always for a while, especially last year, I was like, I shouldn't be working on anything that isn't paying me. All my time should be about paid work and. But the truth is, every single great opportunity that I've gotten since I've started using AI has resulted from the films that I made just because I thought it would be fun, or I wanted to express something, and it feels really good. It's truly there's no other feeling, even if you get 30 views. If you did your best and you really like it and it's really about I want to put this idea into the world, it feels really, really good to have done that. And I did that before without AI, with films and series and but it was like so slow. It took forever. And uh and as you do it more and more so quickly, now that like you can, there's so little friction between idea and execution. You start to learn more about yourself as a storyteller, and also the potential of your ideas. Like, I made that because I thought it would be funny, that philosophers thing, and I thought that, like, basically the people on X and LinkedIn and the, like, they're basically like all philosophers standing in the agora, trying to explain the world and hoping a rich guy will sponsor them, or they'll get followed. And then I was like, but wait, what's the main character? What's the narrator's idea? And it was like simulation theory. And then I was like, interesting. I looked at the analytics of IG, because that reel started to pop off on IG. It didn't really pop off anywhere else except IG. And in the analytics, you can see where people like things, where and there's this huge spike in likes around the character. And I was like, oh, maybe they want, like, and huge spike in likes around his idea, which is the last thing in the video, that everything isn't real. And I was like, let me see if I can continue this character and, like, continue that story. And the views dipped on the second episode, but I got more data. And then the third episode, I helped use that data to, like, figure out what my audience wants. And pretty soon, like, the audience was contributing ideas and directions that I would never have thought of. And now it feels kind of like I'm making it with them. And we just put out episode 6. But the ability to, in real time, allow your audience to help steer this thing that you start and put into the world is completely unprecedented. Before, sure, you could get analytics, and you could go back and have a meeting about it, and then have another phone call about it, and then make sure it lines up with the other analytics, and then 6 months later no one cares. Now you can literally, like, within a couple of days, you could take the data and what people are saying in comments and DMs and help it shape it further, and that's a brand new way of storytelling, that all just started because I had a funny shower thought.
Love the funny shower thoughts. I think a lot of us who spend a little bit of time in the Web3 space can remember these echoes of opportunity of, like, what if we were building together in public? And I think there's a trend there, and then we're seeing it play out. I mean, Ari, whether in response to what Matt said, but I think this idea of something that wouldn't have been made otherwise, I know that you have a real strong POV on this idea of protopia, in terms of, I think a lot of your films have that twist at the end that maybe you provoked us with divisive politics, but I think you often try to end it with something that,
Yeah, I wish, when Matt says the political thing, I'm like, I almost wish it didn't have to be politics, but I don't think it would get the views. I've done them, I've done some that are more archetypal and some that are just like short films, and they just don't get the insane attention. And so if the idea is planting the seeds of a different world, then you kind of have to go for a certain kind of, you kind of have to riff on the thing of the day or the thing of the week, or something that's just so insane, like this Easter bunny, all this, it's like the Easter bunny, it's like Lynch, Donnie Darko right away. I'm locked in. I gotta figure out a way for the Easter bunny is whispering the dark forces' thoughts into Trump's ear to press the nuclear button. It's obvious to me, but nobody's gonna make that movie. I think, actually, Matt, what you were saying, I think, when I have the idea, I think, is there someone else before I commit whatever the 5 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is there someone else that can do it? And if I feel like there's someone else with the particular skill sets that I have, or kind of it's too memey, so somebody else is going to do something with the meme, I don't do it. But this one, I was like, nobody's going to touch on the dark forces, on how evil corrupts and works, how nobody's going to use the bunny in this way, maybe in a meme, but they won't explain, and I can do all this surreal imagery that I love from Lynch and from all these things talking about Lynch. So I have to do it. So then I commit. So I have that moment where I'm like, can someone else do it? No. Okay, I got to do it. And sometimes it's like, you know what? Somebody else will take care of that one,
I love that both of you are inspired by David Lynch. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think, it's hard not to. And, he becomes more salient, I think, as we go, because he's operating in that kind of dream space. And that is very much like AI. It's a little surreal. It's a little weird. It can express the ideas in the way that I think he expressed ideas, maybe. So he becomes salient, And there's a great documentary about him, the art, him doing the art. I don't know if you've seen that. I rewatched that at the Philosophical Research Society a couple weeks ago, and it was very inspiring. It's called The Art Life or something like that. You should put it on the chat. Anyone that's a creative should watch that, because it's the only doc that focuses on his creative. I mean, there's the book that Matt referenced, The Big Fish, but or Catching, what is it? Catching the Big Fish, something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's the these documentary that was made kind of internally by his friend and his producer in 2006, and it's all shot in his studio, and then they interviewed him for like 20 hours on just audio, and they overlay the audio with his life and his work, a lot of the painting work, and more of the painting work than the film work, basically. But it tells the story of him and how he expresses his creativity. Anyway, back to it.
I think while we're indulging the woo-woo of creativity, maybe people have also read
I love the woo-woo.
But the Way of the Creative by Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I think that one's kind of like the latest addition to the...
but he has this comment about that we're all artists are just sort of interacting with this universe energy that's putting out what you might call memes, or things that different artists all kind of pick up on, and sometimes somebody gets to before you did, because it's just the universe doing its thing. It's fun to drink that.
I believe it, and I'll say the most important thing I can say is that to the people who are listening to us is we're in kind of messed up, challenging times, and so as a creative, and I imagine a lot of people, here are kind of artists, creatives, makers, it really is up to you to ask yourself, what is your creative gift that you can contribute right now? And it doesn't have to be this it has to be positive. I'm not saying that. There's drama and there's tension, and there is the exploration of the darkness, which it can be very fruitful. But I feel a responsibility. I personally feel this, but I think it may apply to, and Matt, you feel free to riff on this after, that we need to begin to imagine different kinds of worlds, and that storytelling does that best. And because if we only imagine the present as it is, well, it's doom scrolling all the way. It's negative, it's news, it's what you get fed on the X, which is the algorithm is incentivized to keep you kind of, fucking enraged. And then the future is always dystopian, and so if the future is dystopian and the present is doomed, then what are we leaving our kids, or what are we working towards? Are we just messing around and making cool shit, but nothing's gonna matter? No, that's nihilism, So I think we need to show up. It's a time to show up as creatives, as artists, as storytellers, and tell these new kinds of stories. It's never been easier, like Matt's saying. It used to be everyone had these ideas and they never got made. And now Hollywood's basically imploding, going through a major thing, and we'll see what comes out of that. But the opportunity right now as a singular storyteller or as a very small team to make something really amazing and potent that gets tens of millions of views, hundreds of millions of views is right there, is right here, That's the exciting thing for me. And that's what I want to encourage people. And I feel that in the work with Matt also, what is your unique gift and how do you show up at this crazy time and use it, to steer things in a more sane direction and the good. You don't have to believe in anything. I mean, you can believe in the earth, for God's sake, it's giving us, Like if you want some being or something, some entity, let's work for the earth that gives us, sustenance and water. Every indigenous culture has come to the same realization. Every person that's ever done a psychedelic has come to the same realization. Let's help be the stewards, it's the air, it's the food, the earth is the thing that feeds us and clothes us and everything. So let's at least work towards that, or for that, and not, we don't have to go more metaphysical than that. Like it's pretty like, all right, let's keep the house in order.
We had a Taryn O'Neill on here a week or two ago, and I think she similarly approaches her opportunity as a creator with this stuff, and she's amazing. I think I personally want to stay in this space, but I see a couple of people asking questions about learning from you guys as successful creators. And I'm sorry, Matt, unless you had a thought to follow up on that, I don't want to take away anything.
No, I think that was beautifully put, Ari. I think that inevitably, I'm actually really optimistic about the future. I don't know if money will be a thing. Like I honestly, I don't know if society will be able to exist without some kind of like, universal, UBI, or or universal high income or something. But in the meantime, there's going to be a global crisis of purpose, and it's going to get, as Terence McKenna says, weirder and weirder. And I think that as storytellers, we can help make sense of the world through narrative, through storytelling, and I think that there's great purpose to be found in expression that shouldn't have anything to do with money at all. I trust that the money will follow, the security will follow, but it's really just like, I think like the role of storytellers and artists is going to become increasingly important on a societal level and on an individual level.
Yeah, for sense making, for sanity, and for what else can we imagine? This clearly isn't working. The system is failing on many levels, and yet there's a lot of goodness too. So it's like, how do we show that? How do we steer that? How do we create stories in a new protopian world, not a dystopian world? How do we take the characters who are doing the most damage and the most divisive right now and show them in a different light? Like when I did the Trump ayahuasca, which was the first one, that kind of like when people were, like, how can you do that? How can you show Trump as an enlightened person? He's the most, like, and then the people who were with him were like, this is how we see him. And so it was crazy. Like the split, it was like there were two movies it was one movie, but there were two totally different viewings of the film. There were the people who saw him as a narcissistic, sociopathic, that's just starting another cult. And there were the people who's like, yeah, he's kind of like that for us, And now, well, things are playing out the way they're playing out. And some of those people are, as we see every day, kind of regretting their vote. And some of them are still holding on. And that's that. But at least we had to see. I knew Trump was going to get elected at that point. It was a little bit before the election. And I had to see what it was like to take Trump all the way, to that place. For me, for my sanity, and it ended up something that, 30, 40, 50 million people, I don't know how many people watched, but to me, it planted the seeds of that in people. And depends on where you are, what stage you are, where your point of view is, but it planted the seed of a different possibility, and that's what I see some of Matt's work doing also with the post-scarcity blues and the AGI. It's like, whoa, there's this weird future around the corner that looks like the present, but it's not the present, but it's not the future, it's not dystopia, but it's not utopia. It's interesting, it's kind of sensual.
Just want to say, super recommend everybody spending time on both of their YouTube and Instagram channels. Part of me just wants to stop and play stuff as you reference it, but I encourage everybody to to spend time with your films. I think that whole trilogy, I think it was a trilogy of those kind of feature films you made, or is a space to spend time in, Matt. But sorry, you were going to respond. I had a follow-up question about the idea of viral.
Yeah, I think great art, which you do this, Ari, is great art is a mirror and a window
Yes, beautifully said.
at once.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I want to get you guys in a real life room together, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
next we got to do it for real so we
We can
can.
put that in a future jam of some sort. I mean, one thing that I really am enjoying spending time on purpose and meaning and intention, and I think that's probably the main takeaway that everybody should have, is whether they agree or vibe with the specifics. You're getting a chance to sort of unthink the slop speed and use the slop speed as an opportunity to really lean into your intentions. Like, it's giving you a place to sort of really take things that matter to you both or interest you both. Just to talk about the mechanics for a second. And this is a quick question because I have a follow-up that's longer. Were both of you people that spent a lot of time on Instagram as creators before all this? Were both of you like viral? So that's what I thought. So I want to ask that because I don't think either of you are Gen Z or younger. You're not native to this being a part of what a lot of people think, being a creative person. You come from a before time when people like us might have considered themselves behind the scenes people or producers. Nevertheless, I think both of you are example of people that have turned virality into a part of your professional or creative identities. It's also a comment that AI seems natively born in a time of social media as the currency. And maybe that evolves as things become more professional and mainstream. But I think previous times it's that I made it on YouTube in a long form series, or I made it in cable TV or in the movie theaters. Here it's this immediacy narrative. Can you talk a little bit about your journey as individuals suddenly adapting to a world where you have to be a public figure, that you have to be someone that's part of your sense of feedback at the very least, or sense of success? Are those hits? Are those millions of views you just threw out? That some of us relied on Netflix to go get those views after we sold them a show. Now we're getting those views. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and how that's a part of the process of being an AI creator? Or maybe you have a different take on it.
Matt,
Maybe Ari, if you want to go first.
No, I think Matt should go first because I talked a lot.
Sorry.
I have a lot of respect for AI filmmakers, whether their work is good or not, in my subjective opinion, because this is not posting, your comic book art that you drew with your hand. It's not posting your short film, in that no matter what, you're going to get bullied. So it takes a lot of, balls, for lack of a better word, to put yourself out there. And when I started, I was like, AI was like not good, but people still hated it, and like the whole slop thing was just starting, and I was like, do I do this as like a fake name? Do I make like a pseudonym, like and I was like, no, I don't want to have like like an anime PFP and shit. Not to hate on anyone that does that, and it's a brand, it's a thing, but when you make stuff with this medium, you have to do it. You have to love storytelling. You have to love creating more than they hate the idea of what you're making. And there's like a fearlessness to that, and a courage to that I think is the sign of an inner strength that is going to pay dividends if you keep at it. Because the reason I jumped into this is I looked at, shrinking budgets in the industry. I looked at all the ideas we had to like throw away, not because they weren't great ideas, but because we knew we would never get those budgets. I looked at the dysfunction and the bureaucracy, and I saw how fast this was improving, and I felt like this is going to last decades. I don't know if the old model will last decades. I genuinely don't, from a logical, like total, perspective. So I was like, I need to learn this inside and out. And if people hate it, they're going to hate it. But they hated electronic music too when it first came out. What happens is a subculture forms, um, and subcultures grow over time and then become big. And I think that it's ultimately more rewarding to build something than to hate something. And uh, I never like even thought about putting my face out there or being any kind of public figure, and I don't think I am. Those opportunities came and they're great, but this has always just been about, you know, the love of telling stories, and this like new power of being able to do that at very low financial risk and relatively quickly. Uh, uh, and I think the reason that I like talking and going on podcasts or speaking at events is because I feel like there's so many people out there who have in their imaginations, in their minds, incredible worlds, incredible stories, and I hope that, you know, they 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 find a way to put them out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I share some of that for sure. You know, I didn't have a viral video sensation in my bingo card, you know, and I was, but I was creatively frustrated, and kind of like what Matt's saying, like I was, wanting more and wanting to express myself more. I started painting, which you see one on the back, and I like got some out through that. And then I was like, when the AI stuff came, I wasn't thinking like, oh, now's my chance to get out there. It's just like I've got years of bottled up things, and I was in this place where, I had a sort of realization a few years ago that it is about this creative service. It is about this like bringing your gift forward, and I felt my gift was very strongly was this, this dropping the seeds of a different kind of world. So I just followed that. And the rest is, yeah, like Matt said, there's a lot of, I will say there's a lot of glamour, like every scene, there's a lot of advertising is basically based on that, the advertising world. There's a lot of kind of like sweet talking, there's a lot of promises, there's a lot of people swinging deals and making things. So discernment becomes key. Like I start with a no if I get invited to something, and then it's someone I trust, like you, Fred, and you're offering to talk to Matt, I say yes. But there's a lot of distraction, and one can get co-opted very easily. So that's the other thing to warn about, is there's kind of like interference, and there's a way in which something good can start, and then it can easily be co-opted or taken in, sucked dry. So you have to be careful about that as well. But it is exciting. It is interesting. We're seeing, it's what you hope it would be. There, I feel that excitement that I felt 20 years ago when I started Missing Pieces, and the video iPod came out, the precursors to the iPhone, and YouTube and Vimeo were out, and people were making stuff with their little DVXs and editing them and putting them up and going viral, and things were happening and were interesting, and new formats were being discovered and new ways of telling stories. That's what I thought we were doing then. I thought we were going into this new place, and then you sort of like, again, you end up in this place where it can start to feel like, okay, what does the industry want? What does the audience want? And then you're like back to like, okay, well, I guess we should do it like that. And then the next thing you know, you're sort of like a service for people, a creative service, and I think that's great if it pays well and you're happy. But I also think there's many traps to that. And what I hope would happen is what Matt's saying, like that those who are wealthier and who are wealthy patrons would kind of like sponsor or enable a kind of revolution now of storytelling without give us money. Like, give us some money. You've got a lot of money. Give Matt some money, fund him. Give me some money. Give 10 people. Like, why do we have to do the X Prize thing? Why do we have to compete for the X Prize Vision Award? Why not give everyone $100,000 and pick 10 incredible storytellers? It doesn't even have to be me or Matt, but pick 10, give them money, fund them, and then pick the winner. But fund them first versus free work. And I love the idea of the X Prize future because it's aligned with the protopian thing. But my beef with that, a lot of that stuff, of these contests, is, again, it becomes like, well, how much does Matt have to prove himself? He's already. How many more do you need from me to know that I can do this? Let's get funded, and let's get a little studio and do it on a daily basis for the good of humanity, Banksy style or JR style. What's the business model of JR or Banksy or these artists that are doing good for the world? They're just doing it, and they're getting funded. Rich people are sponsoring it because they feel it's a good contribution, and they do interesting and edgy work.
So who are the new Medicis? If we
Yeah,
get to
yeah, we need them. Yeah, we need them. And with no strings attached. Like, why 10x? Like, it's not. What are we doing here? Do you want to live
it's
in
its own observation. I feel like Europe is a riper environment for a lot of true artists because it's cooked into the cultural framework.
There's the funding, cultural. Yeah, there's more ways of funding the work. But I start to see, because I did the ayahuasca stuff, you get into these circles of people who are using plant medicine and doing a lot of healing. And there's very wealthy people that have gone through different stages of this or are going through stages of it. I sense there's an opening in terms of the awareness is there that we need to find ways to seed the collective imagination, and the old systems are not working. The old models are not working. So I sense an opportunity.
Yeah, I want to bet on community that there may be not a requirement to wait on Jeff Bezos to become a good guy again or something, but
Yes.
it is. I think the
Well,
thing
and Fred, hold on. Also, community. What you're doing, gathering the people, the campfire. We're here. We're 75 people. We're gathering. We're exchanging ideas. You're orchestrating. And you're gathering, and it's not just for networking. It's not just to get a leg up on the market or some shit. I don't think so. You don't come across like that.
No, I think it. There's we've stared at this as a set of quadrants too before, of what are the values. I would say that just netting value prop is just my wake up every day and think about feeling of what is valuable. I think I connect with what you're saying, not to dissuade it at all. I think what I want to say from my side of that is I feel very deeply that a lot of the friction that Hollywood's going through, people are very protecting, whether it's their very literal rights or their copyright rights, or I get it. Everybody needs to take care of their interests. That's all fine. But I sometimes wonder, why are people fighting so hard for a system that deserves scrutiny? And maybe along the way to being in the Wild West here, we may be discovering a better system, and it may have, I don't know if it's bottom up, grassroots, and all the fun stuff, but it may actually be a version of what we're figuring out every day by showing up, and maybe the Medicis show up, and that's happened before. Maybe society decides these things deserve investment in the way that Europe hangs on to, but maybe we somehow find a new economics that supports each other and learn from each other.
And it may be, last thing about this, it may be that it's not the individual genius thing, like put it on Matt or put it on me or put it on someone as the pedestal. Like, I feel like Skylar and I are doing it. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do it. I feel like there's a small community around me that are advising and helping and protecting and guiding this thing. And so that's what you're doing here also. And Matt, you've done stuff with
I
Grimes.
feel the same way about my wife, KP. She's my producer, uncredited sometimes. Sorry, but sometimes.
All right, so version 2 of this is we show up with the full plus one.
You show up holistically. This is why I usually say now, if you want me in your conference, we'll bring Sky because she's
all
a
right.
facilitator.
So Fred took the note. Next time we're doing this better. I appreciate that.
I've lived in LA for almost 20 years. No, not that many. A little, maybe almost 20 years. I've never seen a uh, community as like welcoming as machine cinema for
Hmm.
in terms of the arts. I mean, like you go to a television academy meeting, like you go to if there are, indie filmmaker meetings, there's a 50% chance they're going to try and recruit you into a cult. Like what you're doing with machine cinema is for real. Like the AI filmmaking world is so welcoming, and people just want to like help each other in a way I've never seen before in
Yes.
the medium of storytelling and cinema.
Yeah,
And
you're right. Even with Matt, even before this, like Matt and I are talking. Oh, how'd you do that? Oh, that's a great one. Or Door, with Door Brothers and all these guys, like all these, everyone that's kind of bubbling up. You're like, oh, that's cool. He did figure that out. And but it's not so much competition. It's much more collaborative and kind of like riffing and being inspired by each other. And you're right that community, Matt. What you're pointing to is, I really feel like coherent communities that are not culty but are centered around the coherence thing are key for this new phase that we're going through. And that's a very, very important piece of it. So it's good that you're doing it. Yeah, I agree that it's very special, These things
I
have to be
appreciate that.
cultivated.
Culture might even be the word that we're less scared of
Yeah.
than cult.
Yeah.
But I just want to do time check because we often bleed over past the hour. Are you guys okay in case questions come in, or
We
do you
do a
guys
little
need?
couple of, yeah, a little bit of questions, like 15 minutes.
Okay. I mean, one question that I know Joshua threw out earlier, which is a little bit of to your point about sharing and learning from each other. As we even look at the examples you've shown today or discussed today, what's a soup to nuts time frame you guys get used to of like, all right, I got an idea I'm in terms of the time frame, but even if there's even a top level, like what's your toolkit?
Yeah. I'll say I've got it down to I think this Omni feature is kind of like a time saver on both, especially on Dance and on Kling. Is interesting because you get 15 seconds, and so that's changing the timing a little bit, where you don't have to do each individual shot, but you can do a shot list assisted with AI. I always give my idea to Claude like verbally, and then start breaking it down. Often the ideas are bad that it comes back with, but every once in a while there's one or two good things. But I'm kind of constantly feeding it, and then I'm taking it into these days Omni. So I would say that's saving some time. I never count the hours, but I think it's between, I want to say like 6 to 10 hours per video, sometimes more if it's very involved. But I've got it, I'm pretty fast at editing, and I don't want to spend too much time, again, because it's part creative service and part kind of like riffing on something that's active in the culture, typically, not always. Or it's just an idea I want to get out. But yeah, maybe 6 to 12 hours on average, sometimes more when it's longer form. Like Matt did a 10-minute thing. I tried to do a 10-minute thing for that thing, and it took forever. So I think this is in the 2 minute, 2 to 3 minute storytelling mark is that. And mainly using Nano Banana Pro, Dance 2, and Kling 3 at this point. And sometimes Suno, sometimes 11 Labs. That's about it. And then Claude for helping with the prompts in the script. How about you, Matt?
pretty similar. I'd say my like go-to stack is, base images, iteration in Midjourney, um, coverage in Nano Banana Pro,
Mm.
uh, and then uh, Dance and Kling 3 for video, but just really that changes whenever there's a new soda model out. I mean, Pix versus Crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the stuff from this mystery model that just popped up and is like beating Dance 2,
Really?
called Happy Horse, which might be an open source local model made
Wow.
by um, the people at stand.ai who did Magi Human.
What's it
Um,
called, Matt?
it's
Remind me.
called Happy Horse, which I'm sure is a code name.
Happy
It's
horse?
Happy Horse. It's a pseudo anonymous model that popped up a few days ago, and it's beating Dance 2 in all the benchmarks.
Hmm. Very
All right,
cool.
then proof to everybody. Don't
Why?
leave at 11 o'clock on the hour. 1 minute past the
Artificial
hour is when the good stuff comes out.
AI. There's like a blind test where they show you two videos with the same prompt, and you click which video you liked better, and then it shows you which model made each video and has all of them. And like I was doing it yesterday, and time after time I was picking this Happy Horse model. Maybe it's VO4, maybe it's something
You did it with Nana Banana. That was
There-
literally the exact same thing with the Nana
there's
Banana.
a lot of URLs that are fake right now about Happy Horse. Like a lot of people just made websites and put them up because no one knows what the model is, and they're asking you to sign up and stuff. So I wouldn't sign up until anything's officially announced for anything.
Also, Year of the Horse. That's a Chinese zodiac moment.
I'm
There's
pretty
something
sure-
I like the coding on this.
I had Claude do like a deep think investigation. And it thinks it's a Da Vinci, Magic Da Vinci, which the most likely developer would be sand.ai. No, I'm seeing in the chat those links. I don't know if any of those are
Let's be
legit.
careful with those links, guys. Like to Matt's
pretty
point,
sure-
this is that moment when people
I'm
post.
guessing, and I could be totally wrong, that it's these guys.
Yeah, let's be careful with those links, guys. This is the kind of setting where the FOMO has people clicking on stuff they shouldn't be. It might be real, but we also don't know for sure. Thank you, Joshua, for trying. I mean, I just want to hear what's next for both of you. Or if you have to run, maybe you should go first. Where is it? Just continuing to iterate as we've been? Is there, whether it's the Protopia in-person events that you're doing, what might you want to invite people to follow and pay attention to and maybe participate in?
Yeah, there's a few things. I'm showing something. I'm doing something which I can share with you, but not publicly for TED next week, which is exciting. I'll announce it on Monday. It's TED's next week, and it's the last TED that Chris Anderson is gonna host. He was like the center of TED, and he's kind of like stewarding it to the next generation. And we worked with TED 20 years ago, actually. One of the early projects of Missing Pieces was helping bring the TED Talks to life and creating documentaries around the TED conference, and it was like the most amazing time. So it feels very full circle. And then I have, I'm always on. The radar's always kind of on. You know, I try to do one every week or every 2 weeks, a short, and then. We did a class, kind of like a course, The Alchemy of AI Storytelling. 130 people showed up, and it was really interesting. It was the first time I've done it. Sky's done a lot of those. We did it with Pinchbeck, and there's kind of, it kind of like got me going in that direction of like how you can teach it, and not so much like the tools, because there's the curious refuges and all that, but more like the thing that I'm talking about, like the alchemy itself, like how to become these kind of new storytellers. And so I would want to do it again, but curate maybe 30 storytellers that I feel are really interesting, that want the up-leveling in AI, but also the up-leveling in consciousness, and not start a cult, and do it in a really interesting and fun way that's virtual, and also maybe has like we meet in person once or twice. So that's kind of brewing for me. And there's a lot of other things, but those are kind of the basics of what's going down.
Are you going to be at Artist in the Machine?
Yeah, I'll be at the Artist in the Machine this year.
I think I will be too.
Cool.
And then I'm going to Greece to a really cool technology and art festival called Panathenea, where I'm going to be giving an AI filmmaking workshop in late May, which will be awesome. And then everything else I'm working on is under really insane NDA.
That's great. Yeah. The TED thing is kind of half NDA, so let's keep it between us.
I just blasted it all over Twitter and live streamed this. There's too many things.
No
Sorry,
worries.
totally kidding. Kelly Bosch, I think, is going to be there too. We're hopefully talking to her soon too. Very exciting to know we're catching it right before a big moment at TED. And I know we're all about to go, but you had an amazing moment at GTC, Matt, with Grimes, and perhaps that's for another Gen Talk, but really exploring this idea of what is this next wave of stories. How would you describe it? You had a better way of saying it.
Grimes and I are both very, very interested in what the new forms of art could be when AI starts making art about itself, and 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 our panel at GTC was called Expression About Expression when AI Looks in the Mirror. And we're working on a documentary that is a long-term project that gets into some really wild stuff and is very different than any AI documentary that exists or ever will exist, because it's Grimes and she's a genius.
No, very cool partnership and ongoing collaboration you have with her, and that whole sort of how to learn how to use AI web series you did was fascinating. I had the fun of having Matt be a guest speaker in my like Chapman class, and like literally as the guest speaking was ending, he's like, "Sorry guys, I got to go live on YouTube with Grimes." He literally like the next minute hopped onto YouTube live with Grimes to go do that whole session. So you live a very interesting life, and I'm envious of your trip to Greece. I'll just say, look, guys, both of you, I really appreciate.
Brent, I have a question for people. How are people doing? And Matt, you might have a point of view, but I still haven't found a good solve to eliminate the AI little logo on the Sentience 2 when you download. How are people? What tool has been the best for that? Because I see some people doing it through an API, and then they can do it. But if I'm on the Germina website,
Just use FAL.
You use FAL?
FAL.
Yeah.
All right, a bunch of answers. Artcraft offers SD2 without watermark.
Yeah, CS2 is on FAL as of last night.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be
I've
everywhere.
tried some of the eraser ones, and it kind of like compresses the whole thing, you know?
They kind of suck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can blur it and then
You can
run
blur,
it,
you can crop.
and you can run it.
But I've seen people just figure out a way to download
Run
it.
it through Starlight, fix the blur.
Maybe Matt and I will stay on and we'll do a little technical.
Isn't it? But is that like a? Can you just like run it through like Kling 3 and like transform the video or?
Yeah, but it
that.
compresses. I think you're dealing with compression.
Not as crispy.
Not as crispy. Yeah, it comes very crispy from Sentience too, but with that little.
Afan says maybe intentionally go extra anamorphic.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do that, but I've done that.
You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the kind words you have for our community and how you guys show up for us. Increasingly want to be able to do it in person. I mean, we do it here because it works with busy schedules, but you guys are awesome. Would love to collaborate with you in creative ways. We've increasingly been trying to find ways to build this sort of jam environment with like a bit of a muse or someone that's there to almost be our creative director and almost explorers club it, you know? So if that's something either of you are interested in, let's talk more. But I'll just remind everybody, thank you, Flick and CopySite. You know, again, Flick is a all-inclusive platform that is a place for all your video and audio and images all in one. It's not a chatbot, it's a general purpose tool. We're going to have a jam with them very soon, and it's a great opportunity for people to interact with the tool here in LA, but we're also creating opportunities for people to access the tool through some codes that we're going to be able to share with the community.
And obviously, too.
What's that?
They have Sentience too.
And they have Sentience too, actually. I should have led with that. Thank you for being my better ad rep, Matt Zien. And then obviously CopySite, we're going to have a Robo Dojo with Tommy very soon where we're going to go deep on copyright. So for all, whether you're a nerd about the legal process or you actually want to know how to take care of your creations. And it's not just to sort of finger wag, it's actually a tool that's designed to sort of protect the creator and give them a way to go and protect themselves. But it's an IP detection tool that scans your AI generated content and flags potential copyright conflicts. He's doing really great work. We're going to meet him in person. But thanks everybody for sharing the space with us. Next week, it's going to be a super fun one. We'll have more to share on our guests. But thank you both. Again, I'm proud to call you guys friends, and I love what you have to say about our community.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing us together.